Hey, what's up guys? Hope you guys have an awesome week so far. It's a brand new month, and sorry for doing this video a little bit late, but I'm going to be talking about the 3 announcements that Steam announced last week. Now, the first one was about the Steam operating system. Now, the Steam operating system isn't just going to be a brand new operating system specifically made for specific devices or anything like that. It's actually going to be built around an operating system known as Linux. Now, if you don't know what Linux is, it's actually an operating system that's 100% free. You don't have to buy or pay for it or anything like that. And it's open source, so you could easily make applications and software and other things for it without having to go through special procedures or licensing or any special problems or having to actually spend any money as far as that kind of stuff goes. So it's much easier to be able to actually write applications and stuff like that for it. And believe it or not, there's actually a couple of things that you probably have seen Linux being used in. Number one, if you have an Android smartphone, it's a Linux-based operating system. Now, some people don't believe that, but it actually is true. Android operating system is a Linux-based operating system. It really is. And the second thing is that if you ever watched a movie and you looked on the screen and everything and how their user interface looks and how in some ways their computers may look more futuristic as far as that goes, and it's like, wow, that looks so cool and everything. They are usually Linux-based because number one, it's free, and two, you could hack it, you could mod it, you could change it to whatever your heart's content wants, whether it's for your workspace, your user interface, your style, just about anything really. And because, well, they don't have to worry about anything, and it's really, really reliable. It's also been known as a really great operating system for running servers on, because other operating systems tend to eat memory over time, virtual memory and hard drive space and stuff like that, so eventually it'll run out of space, and it will crash or something. And with Linux, it doesn't do that. It only uses a set amount and nothing more, and you could leave it running for days, weeks, even months sometimes with no problem, and it'll work just as it did before you left. So that's really great. Now, there's actually a lot of really good reasons as to why they're actually doing this. The first reason they're doing this is because of the fact that it's free. It also means that if a developer wants to make their own version of it, they could change it, and this way it'll save them money. Hey, what's up guys? Hope you guys are having an awesome week so far. It's a brand new month, and sorry guys for doing this video late, but I'm going to be talking about the 3 announcements that Steam announced last week. Now, the first one was about the Steam operating system. Now, it's not just going to be another operating system for specific devices and only for this or anything like that with limitations. It's actually going to be built around an operating system known as Linux. Now, if you don't know what Linux is, it's an operating system that's 100% free. It's open source. You don't have to go through special procedures or spend money or do anything special just to write application or software for it, and you could easily mod it, you could hack it, you could change it to whatever you want to with no problem. And believe it or not, it's actually been used in many ways that people don't realize. Number one, if you have an Android smartphone, the Android operating system is a Linux-based operating system. It is. And if you've ever watched a movie and you noticed, their computer looks different, their user interface, and sometimes they look more futuristic and it looks so cool and everything, and how fast and snappy it is, that's usually running Linux on it, because you could change it to whatever you want. It's free, so they don't have to worry about money or any issues with licensing and all of that kind of stuff, and they don't have to spend too much time on it building a new operating system from the ground up and everything. And plus, it's also been a great operating system for companies, such as running servers and stuff like that, because other operating systems may eat hard drive space over time through virtual memory and may get full of dirty memory over time, and eventually it'll just crash from getting too full on things, and it will just have problems. And with Linux, it doesn't use any more than a set amount, so you could just leave, come back days, weeks, or even months later, and it will work just as fine as it did when you first left. So it's a really great operating system overall. Now, there's a few reasons as to why they actually did this. The number one reason is because when they actually ported and made it available, Steam, the application for Linux, they tested the games on it. And they looked at like, okay, so compare this operating system's performance on the games and Linux. And they noticed there was a noticeable difference in how much better performance they got in the hardware on running on games on Linux. And that's really, really great. So you could get more out of your hardware. And the other reason they're doing it is because the fact that they won't have to start from the ground up and everything like that, and because it's open source, it's going to be great for other developers that want to make their own variations, or for you could change it to whatever you want or anything like that. And it's just a really reliable operating system, and it doesn't take up too much resources or anything like that, and it's going to be really, really a great option. And one of the reasons they're also doing this is because they've noticed that there's not very many developers actually developing games for Linux. Believe it or not, percentage-wise, actually indie developers make games for Linux more than AAA developers. And now, believe it or not, they actually came out and said that, yeah, we got a bunch of AAA developers, help or getting ready to go ahead and start making games for Linux and everything like that. So they got a bunch of people ready to go ahead and do that, and that's really great because we're going to be seeing more games ported for Linux, and that's great for Linux users, and it's great for, well, the future in general. And right now, as it stands, there's hundreds of games available for Linux, but not in the thousands or anything like that. So at least we're going to be seeing things get just better and better. And plus, it just makes more sense for those people that have Linux and have the Steam application installed, and if they want to get more out of their hardware. And because it has to do with the second thing. Second thing they announced had to do with Steam machines. Now, we all know it's the Steam box, and there's going to be many different manufacturers all making their own different versions of it. And what's going to be cool is because the operating system is free, they don't have to pay money. Because think of it this way, if you try to build a desktop or a laptop, you have to pay a license fee to Microsoft to use their operating system, which can be a noticeable amount of money. And for us consumers, we have to pay 100% price, and it's a lot of money. It really is. And this way, they'll be able to make the Steam box for cheaper. They won't have to spend as much time as they possibly could, and it'll be pretty easy to port games, over and everything like that. And because it's cheaper, that will give them what they need, and they'll be able to get more out of the hardware. So they might be able to cheap out and be able to lower the price and give you the same performance that you would have on another operating system, or they could give you more performance for your money, which is really, really great. So there's many different ways this can go, and with the different variations of the operating system manufacturers are probably going to do, they're going to make changes to make it look cooler to fit some stuff that they might have on there, and there's going to be different hardware variations, so you can find ones at different price ranges and all that kind of stuff. And again, there are going to be some benefits to the way they're doing things that's going to make it more, I guess you could say, more affordable and beneficial and everything like that. And in case you're worried that, well, I don't want to wait for all those games to be ported over or start working on Linux, I want to play games now. They actually do got an option for that. They're going to be using the same kind of technology that NVIDIA is using for NVIDIA Shield, which will allow you to stream games from your, let's just say, desktop computer to the Steam box, or whatever they actually end up calling it and stuff like that. So it's going to be really cool like that, so you can actually stream it to it. As long as you have a 600 series or higher graphics card, you could do that with no problem, which is really, really great, and it's a very seamless experience. And this is really great because you'll be able to run any PC game that you could currently run on Windows that way. So they're doing whatever, it really seems like they're doing whatever they can to give you many ways to do things, because things are going to be moddable, changeable, more affordable, more reliable, get more performance for your money's worth, and that's really great. So they'll be able to stretch the performance and everything like that and see it last longer. And plus, the Steam machines will be, upgradable, which is really cool and everything like that. And the third thing they announced was the controller. Now, when it comes to the controller, it's one of those things that's very debatable, and a lot of people are really, really iffy about because it looks so different. There's a lot of things that are very different about it. One thing is that it looks like it's backwards by the way you hold it, and the other thing is that it doesn't have a D-pad, and it doesn't have joysticks, actually, and the position that the way the buttons are and everything like that. Now, as far as the D-pad goes, that kind of does suck, but at the same time, not too many games actually did use arrow keys or D-pad or anything like that as far as on PC goes. But they did a couple things actually pretty smart that will help in the long term and for reliability. Number one, because they're not using joysticks, they don't have to worry about reliability issues, because even though there's a lot of PC or controllers available on PC, they don't all work on all games. Some companies actually make it to where they lock out and being like, okay, you can only use a keyboard and mouse, no other device, and they kind of lock it out, so then if you have a really cool, controller or anything like that, you might not be able to actually use it, and that really, really does suck. But this controller will actually be detected as a mouse and a keyboard. So it'll work 100% the same way that a regular mouse and keyboard works, which is really, really great. And instead of using joysticks, it's going to be using thumb pads. Now, it's going to be the same time technology in your mouse pad, so if you have a laptop and you're using the mouse pad to move around, that's cool. But the reason they're doing this is so then they don't have to worry about compatibility, because it's going to work just like every other mouse. And from what I've heard from at least one person, it's been really, really seamless. It's been very accurate and very responsive, and it's worked really well. So if they could do a great job on that, which I'm sure some people are very iffy about it and still want joysticks, but if they could do a good enough job on it, and there probably will be a learning curve, it will still be a good experience, and that will get rid of the compatibility issues. And even though there's not a D-pad, what they do have is that they do have a touchscreen in the middle. Now, this will actually be fully hackable, changeable. The hardware actually in the controller will be moddable to whatever you want, or if you're a manufacturer and you want to, make your own variation of it. But With the touchscreen, you could change it to whatever you want. You could put different buttons on it. You can make a quick save, quick load button, all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be really, really cool for that stuff. So that way, if you want to put some more buttons on there, or if you want to put a D-pad or something like that on there, and possibly some buttons in the corners, you could do some crazy stuff with this. So in a way, you know, even though they don't have a D-pad and stuff like that, they still got something there to take place for that and make up for it. So it's really great to see that they got rid of the compatibility issue that you would normally have with most controllers, and they're giving you more options. So that is really good, and I understand some people aren't quite looking at it that way, but it is good that they're doing it because we don't want just another controller that only works with specific games or something like that again. Well, that's pretty much it for today, guys, and let me guys know what you think. Do you feel like it's a requirement to have a joystick on a controller? And what do you think about the touchscreen? Do you actually think it's going to be innovative enough? And the fact they're making things so open source, moddable, hackable, to do whatever you want is actually a great piece of innovation? And what do you think about the fact they're making things more reliable and affordable for developers to give us great variety? Let me guys know what you think in the comment section below. But that's pretty much it for today, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video.